Welcome to the Miniatures Paintbrush. Today I'm going to show you how I painted the shoulders for these space wolves. Welcome back. Today we're going to do some freehand for Blood Claw insignias. Now, I'm not the greatest at freehand, but we're going to train ourselves. We're going to start using the Micron 005 plus the trim tape, which is hobby centric trim tape for RC cars and whatnot. And we're going to clip that into little strips. And then we're going to apply the strips in a V portion, an upside down V portion or a pyramid portion. And we're going to do it smaller than what we need. And then what we're going to do is we're going to trace out the lines. This is a starting point. Pretty soon we're going to be doing some freehand with these, and we're not going to need these as guides just yet. But when you're starting out, it's always helpful to have some guides just to get used to what they look like. So you're going to take the same design, and you just got to throw it onto the other side and try to keep it as even as possible. So this way you have some consistency throughout the shoulder pad. Pauldron, I guess. Is it pad or pauldron? I wonder. Yep, and then what we're going to do, we're going to take the design, we're going to put it on the top, and we're going to create that as well. So we're going to have some yellow arches when we're done with this with a red background. Make me hungry a little. I try not to eat that stuff. Okay, so there we have, and we're going to start painting in. So now we have the Micron pen. What we're going to do is we're just going to extend what we have, because that seems like the red is a little too small there. So we're going to extend it. So we just put a dot over the center point and just trace that dot straight down. There you go. Along the edges of the triangle that you've already created. This way you're just extending that line. And there it is. Very, very smooth, quick strokes. If you have a problem doing this, then try practicing on paper before you do it for real. Okay, so just quick strokes. Try not to push your pen too hard. That's a very hard tip, and it will scrape off any kind of primer that you have in there, unless it's a plastic bonding kind of primer. All right, so what we have here is with the pen, we're just sharpening up those lines. We have an idea. So again, do it smaller, then trace out the lines that you need using the pen. And there you go. It doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to clean all this up later. Make sure you just try to make the points. Okay, so basically what you're doing is you're creating the lines just like you would create the lines if you had a coloring book. And then what you're going to do is you're going to paint in those lines with the red that you need. Now notice that I primered the shoulder white, and that's because red is really hard to paint over. So what I usually do is either zenithal highlight or paint the whole thing white and then just put in the shadows later on. That's the second technique. Now doing the zenithal highlighting the shoulders is something I didn't do in this video, but you can do that as well. And what that means is you painted a darker color on the bottom and then you painted a lighter color when you shoot it spray on the top, so this way it'll have that natural shadow. Or you can paint those shadows in or use weathering pastels, which that's what I did towards the end. Okay, so what I'm using now is Vallejo Model Color Scarlet, which to me comes out pretty orange when it's wet. But it's pretty good. As far as coverage is concerned, you're going to have to, do more than one coat for definitely sure. So what we're doing is just, again, filling in just like you would if you had a crayon book, a coloring book, and what you're going to do is just fill in, but with a brush, the lines that you put in. And try not to make it too liquidy, because if you do make it too liquidy, the paint likes to run up the edges, and that's no good. So there you go. You have that M going on in there, but the M is in white. interestingly enough. Now the important thing to do here is to allow it to dry, because at this state, if you keep painting it without it drying, then it's going to pull out the paint and leave disgusting watermarks. Now I sped this video up so it was dry before I put on the second coat, which makes it really, really convenient. Although not as dry as I should have waited for. But for the purposes of this video and getting it done, I didn't wait till it was 100% dry at this point. Now I'm going to show you how to do it now, and I'm going to do another shoulder as well later on, so you can see how I do it completely free-handed instead of just using those tape. Instead of using a tape for the guidelines. And as you get better with this, you will not need the assistance of tape. It's sort of like when you're riding a bike and you have training wheels, you can take the training wheels off. Now, I did the training wheel scenario, although that's a bad example for me because I personally did not learn with training wheels. I learned with falling. A bit. Quite a bit. And then I got it. So there it is again. Just adding more red paint, and then we're going to add the yellows in the middle. Again, make sure that it is dry before you start adding yellow in the middle. Also, next step before you add the yellow actually is I usually go in with a marker and trace out the points in black. I like that because it has a stark contrast and it lets you know the yellow ends and the red begins. Plus, it helps me personally identify where the boundaries are, and it does remind me of a coloring book in this way. So call this coloring book painting, I guess. When I'm doing the insignia, I'll do it this way. Now, when I did the shoulder pads, I really don't know too much about the Space Wolves, so if I'm getting something wrong, then it's pretty much going to be on all my blood claws. So, it's too late for me now. But just paint it the way you want. And I do know that they have these kind of, I guess, peaks coming up, sometimes different colors, depending on, I guess, whose troop they're in or whatever. Again, forgive me, I don't know this stuff. I am learning and totally new at this. Wargaming noob over here. But this is the design that I saw the Blood Claw leader have, and the design that I kind of saw when I looked at the box. So I'm just trying to replicate whatever design that was on the box and call it a day. So, and that's it. Everybody should have it, and there you go. I think it's cool. And I did see some. I did get an older codex that I picked up. And I saw some of the heraldry on it, and I do have the index, and it has some of shoulder pads for those as well. None of those are these, so I hope I did the right thing. There's also black and yellow, which I think are the veterans, and I'm going to paint those on the older crew, I guess. I know it's Blood Claws are the initiates, and then they have Grey Hunters, I think, is the next one up, and then eventually Long Fangs or even Scouts. And the Scouts are not at the bottom, I know that. Alright, so there it is. And I didn't do a spectacular job on that one, simply because the camera's in the way and it was just kind of messed with me. But you get the idea. I'll try to fix it as much as I possibly can. Here comes yellow, and that's the next step of this, is getting the yellow in. Make sure that the markers dry. Those markers usually take a long time to dry, and they can smear. I like the word smear. They can smear all over your work, and especially when you're painting yellow. Another difficult color to paint. Again, why I chose to go all white on these shoulders. So this way it makes it a little easier to get in there and do it in fewer coats. Now, it's going to take more than one coat, but I like the coverage on this because of the white background. I tried to do this on a black background, and my goodness, you will be there for hours. So let's never do that, okay? Save yourself the trouble, save yourself the time, and paint them white. So this way they're easier and they can go on in a couple of coats. Again, really important and really hard for me to do is to make sure that the layer of paint dries before you go on to the next layer of paint. Now, again, easier said than done. Sometimes I get impatient and I just keep on putting paint in there. And again, if you do that, what it's going to do is going to lift up the layer of paint that's drying. And if you notice that paint in a puddle dries on the edges before it dries in the middle, so you would have dried paint on the edges and you'll lift up the paint in the middle, and what you're going to be left with is the primer underneath. So if in this case it'll have like a white bald spot in the middle and a tide mark. Instant tide mark. It's not what you want to do. Okay, so there it is with a guide on it. That one's definitely not perfect. And finally, just to make that orangey scarlet look a little more red, I do add some red ink in there. And off camera, I put some yellow ink in the yellow part as well. And it just really makes it pop, and I really like that. Now, sometimes you can go over the black lines that you put in there with the marker, and that's not a problem, because all you have to do is go back with the marker and just trace the line over. You already have a line there. Use that as a guide to help you trace over that line and darken up those areas. Again, again, again. Wait till it completely dries. And one of the things about this that's really difficult is because those pens take longer to dry than the acrylic paint. Okay, here I'm just going to completely freehand and learn something, that while one is drying, I paint the other side of the pauldron. So this one I'm just going to paint straight yellow, and that's a flat yellow from Vallejo Model Color, and a very, very diluted with the glaze medium so I can bring it up. Now if you glaze it out and you dilute it, so why can't you just put it on straight, because it'll go on thick and then you don't have to do a lot of coats. And so that's true, but then it looks chunky, especially with those light colors like yellow and red. It'll look chunky. For some reason it dries weird. From the paints that I've used, I don't know if it's the paint that I am using. I would like to try some watercolors. I heard they're interesting to work with. So I haven't gotten to that point yet. But right now I want to use what I got. I want to use it up, honestly. All the paints, I want to justify that I bought them and I want to use them up. If they're really, really good. If they're not good anymore, I will stop using them. Or if I don't like them, then I'll just put them on eBay. Maybe somebody else will find love for them and they'll find a nice little home. Okay? Alright, so here I am. Here's the basic design, but instead of using the tape, what I'm just doing is I put 3 dots. 3 dots as far as where the points and where I think I want them to be. And then what I do is I just trace out smaller lines and just do a pyramid. And again, enlarging the pyramid the way I want to enlarge the pyramid, just so they could look even. This came out much better than the last one because I'm not fiddling around with a whole bunch of tape. Now the tape was only there so I can learn how to actually place it and what it would look like. And now I've gotten to the point, I think this is my 8th Space Marine that I was working on. So after doing about 88 of these, I got confident enough just to do it by hand. And I know that if I make a mistake, I can always just go back and widen it up. As long as you start with the triangle smaller, you can always widen out because you're going to cover the rest of it with paint, so it doesn't matter. There it is with the scarlet. And I put the scarlet right in the middle, just like I did the last time. And it's the same effect, but just doing it freehand. Around these, I'm doing completely freehand. So, and it is easier for me because I've done so many. If you repeat things over and over again and you repeat the process, you get better at it no matter what it is. Just like when you play sports, if you want to get good at something, you have to practice. And the same thing goes with this. If you keep on doing the same technique over and over again, you get better at it. And this is what an example of what that is. Now, not to say that it's perfect, but you know what? What is perfect? If you look at our faces in the mirror, it's asymmetrical. It's not even perfect. So it's like nothing, is completely perfect. Although snowflakes, I hear, is close. They're actually geometrically beautiful. I heard they found the same snowflake. Like they say every snowflake is special and you can't find the same one twice. But scientists have found 2 snowflakes that look the same. Twin snowflakes. Go figure what our science dollars do. Anywho, I think it's fun. I remember when I was a kid, I loved science so much that I kind of freaked out that there was they actually created antimatter on Earth. Sweet. All right, there you go. While one is drying, I'm doing the other one. I don't know if that counts as patch painting. I don't think so. So, and that's what I do because I want to keep progressing and painting. So I'll just go from one shoulder to the next shoulder and wait for one shoulder to dry completely before I go into the next one. Again, I can be a little impatient, so I have to be very, very careful with that. And I don't want those tide marks because I lift out the paint that hasn't dried in the middle. And that is, it's not a good feeling. Okay, so going back with the Scarlet doing the second coat. Again, the first one's going to look terrible. You can see it right now. It does look pretty bad when you paint red for the first time on any surface, really. Yellow is the same thing. It kind of looks clunky and whatnot. Don't worry about that. That's going to go away. Have faith that it'll go away, and it will. It definitely will. And it looks so much better for it. Because then again, you're doing a lot of coats. It's way more even, and it looks a lot smoother and looks great on the Mini. If not, it looks clunky, and I mean, you could stipple some weathering on it to cover that, but it's best not to have it to begin with. That being said, I am painting really clean space wolves, which I don't think I should be doing because they're space wolves, so they've gotten into battles. These are honed warriors before they became Astro Militarum, and they have fought and fought and fought. I'm reading the Omnibus, Space Wolf Omnibus. There's part 1 and part 2, so there's 6 books in total. And I'm starting to learn the lore of these Space Wolves, and the more I read, the cooler it is. Now, I never knew any of this stuff, but I just bought them because they looked cool. Now I realize that their stories are pretty cool too. Go Vikings, man. That's the way it is, because I like Vikings. Okay, so while one dries, I'll paint the other one and allow it to dry. Again, with that yellow, really, really bringing it out. That flat yellow from Vallejo model color. Pretty cool stuff. Very, very cool. Okay, now going back. I am definitely going to do a video on how I do these bases. I did want to raise up the base, so this way it will be about the same height as Primaris Marine. So this way we're looking in the field, since I'm mixing up an army, Primaris Marines and regular Space Wolves, that they're all going to be the same height. Now I'm not going to do an all Primaris army because I don't like to throw my money down the flue and burn it. No, that's not what I want to do. I bought these and I want to paint these, okay, so that's it. Okay, same technique. We're using the Micron pen to do the outline. And some people do pens to paint with. Now, I know there's another YouTuber called Luke's Affordable Paint Service. And Luke there, he had a video where he speed painted a Primaris Marine using Sharpies, using gold Sharpies for the gold areas and silver Sharpies for the power sword and whatnot. And I've used Sharpies in my videos too when it comes to painting cars. You can check out the car videos that I have. I know I did for the interior of my Corvette that I did. And I use it sometimes. And they come in handy when you want to like a quick fix. And if you're just going for, 3 colors to play in a tournament and whatever, you just got to get it done, then yeah, why not, This one I kind of just like to do it as outlines and just use it as like an extra very, very hard paintbrush and just use it in my arsenal to help me out. And that's how I do it. And you don't have to re-dip that. You won't get the wrong consistency or anything like that. It'll always come out the same consistency. So there he goes. There are both of them right there, and they look great. Pretty cool. Let's get some, gotta wait till it dries now. There's the finished one. A little different on the sword there. But yeah, it's coming out pretty well. You gotta wait for that, that pen to dry though. Remember, that takes an extra long time. Sometimes I stopped the camera, I walked away, I did something else, and then I came back to it and made sure that it was dry. Before I attempted the flat yellow, and here comes the flat yellow, and I come through. Now, I like this pauldron better than the first one that I did, because the first one I did was literally the 3rd Space Marine that I painted, and this is my 8th, so, after 5 more extra times, I had a lot more practice, and I think it came out a little better. But you know what? I don't go back to repaint models. I don't do that. I don't go back to repaint models because, first of all, it shows me that I've improved. And I can see where I improved from the first model all the way to the last model. And if I kept on going back to fix it, I'll never be happy with the model, and I'll never paint new stuff. Like, I'll continuously paint over my old minis until they're perfect, or so what perfect. But then I get better, I'm going to have to repaint them anyway, and it'll be stuck in a vicious cycle. There's no way I'm going to do that. And my time is too limited to keep going back and back and back, painting the same model over and over again. So I am not going to repaint minis that I've already painted. Besides, I get caught up in the new hotness, you know. I'm not going to apologize for it because it's actually fun. It's cool, it's new, it's exciting, it's contagious. So you kind of want to get caught up into it every now and again, you know. As long as you know you can get stuff on sale, then it's okay, because I don't buy things at full price. No siree. Very rare, like Gran Turismo. Okay, so look, here I actually put a little bit too much paint on, and it crept up the side of the shoulder. What I do is put some water in there, dilute it, and then with the pen just wipe with the brush, then wipe down the brush, and then just soak it up. And that's very, very easy to remedy if that occurs. So be careful if you put too much painting, but if you do, thin it out immediately, and then wipe it up, and then start again. That's how I do it. Okay. So there it is with the yellow, again doing multiple coats on that, because yellow and red are difficult, in my opinion, colors to paint, or problem colors, some people say. And I can't say I really enjoy painting red and yellow at this point. Maybe since I'm uncomfortable painting red and yellow, I should paint more red and yellow so I can get better at it, right? I'm really uncomfortable painting non-metallic metals. I'm changing my thought process of true metallic metals and how to paint that, instead of just painting in gold and putting a sepia wash and call it a day. But to actually put some silver highlights in it, and like to have some varying tones in it, yeah, I'm going to learn how to do that too. I do have the starter box for Age of Sigmar, and I do have some Sigmarines down there, so, you know, I don't know if I'm going to non-metallic metal them, but probably true metallic metal, but doing it the right way. I think that's what's going to be. And the right way to me is putting the highlights and putting the low, and controlling, in essence, where I want the shadows and where I want the highlights, because I don't want, you know, the flecks inside the metal paint to take over and do their own thing. I want to be in control constantly, and that's how, you know, actively putting in shadows, actively deceiving the eyes to making you believe that this plastic miniature is actually either a miniature scale person and it's real, but it's just on a miniature scale, and you have to play that up, because in reality it's plastic. So you're kind of selling it, you know, you're selling the lie that it's real, but it's not real. It's just a plastic little miniature. It's not a real person or whatever it is that you're painting. So yeah, I will not repaint minis and go back to repaint minis. Also, I will not batch paint. I will batch primer, but I will not batch paint because I just want to keep improving. So that's how I do. Alright, so here are some of the ones I did. I just want to show off some of the ones that I did here, the shoulder pads anyway. We'll have a video on how I did the glowing effects for the guns, and how I did the guns and handled that. Another video as well. Same technique that I used on the shoulders, I used on some of their chain swords. There you go. Just using the freehand in a triangle, and then painting yellow. Make sure you're painting it white or gray, very rare light gray. There are some shoulders. There you go. There's another one. Another shoulder bite to the left. Again, I'm going to do a video on how I did the bases, and some of them are like, you know, water bases and whatnot. And that's the first one I did there. I mean, it came out okay. I'm doing another one right now. It's coming out better. So there you have it. Well, I hope you like it. Thumbs up. See ya. Well, there you have it, guys. If you like this video, like, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you next time on the Miniatures Paintbrush.